In a pivotal game on Wednesday evening for NC State's ACC Tournament chances, perhaps we ended up seeing their true colors.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Happy Thursday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we talked with Jackson Holzer, the host of Locked On Syracuse, about the game that took place, if you want to call it that, on Wednesday evening. NC State had to go on the road in upstate New York and find a way to pull out a win if they wanted to keep their ACC tournament chances alive. And what did we get? An absolute duck. A no-show of a performance, an embarrassing first half, not much better of a second half, and we were perpetually down 13 to 14 points for the entirety of this game. So my opening question is, Kenton, where the hell was the urgency?
I mean, Grayson, I don't understand what you're saying right now. You know, even in the opening, they showed their true colors. This is the colors we've been seeing all year. In the words of every American on British TikTok right now, because they're upset at Keith Lee for not liking their toast or jack and potatoes with cheese and tuna, these colors don't bleed. This is who this team is. This is who they've been all year long. And you could argue it. You could debate it. You could scream to the mountaintops, this team is better than this. Have they shown it? No. Is the better team in the room with us right now? So, where was the urgency? I don't know. It was the same place it's been all season. Where's the shot making? It's the same place it's been all season. This game was quite literally, and when I say a perfect, I very much so mean a perfect encapsulation of what this season has been. You want to know why I say that, Grayson? You want to know why I say that? Because this team did everything that we saw throughout the season. They did it in this game. Every single aspect that has traditionally been a struggle for NC State was a struggle in this game. Were they out-rebounded, Grayson?
They were.
Did they shoot poorly from three, Grayson?
They did.
The only thing that they did different that we normally don't see or haven't seen during the season, 80% from the free throw line. Clap it up for that. Clap it up for making the free throws. But everything else that we saw in this game is who this team has been all year. It's not fun to say it. I don't want to say that. I wish I could say, hey, this game's the aberration. NC State's going to bounce back. They're one of the best teams in the nation. They've shown you they can shoot the blood out the ball. They've shown you they can rebound. They've shown you they can defend. They've shown you they can do all these things at a high level. So let's let this loss in the Carrier Dome roll like water off a duck's back. We're going to be okay. But it is very clear to me this team has no intentions of making the ACC tournament.
That was my biggest thing is, yes, we did talk about the stakes, and if you did beat Syracuse on Wednesday night, I think we may have leapfrogged them and been hypothetically in the ACC tournament. So the urgency was going to have to be there. The stakes at hand, and if you want to go get it, then go out and get it. NC State never led for a single second in this game. Not one. Zero urgency knowing what was at stake, and that is a massive disappointment. I was going to say concern, but it's been a concern for the entire year. So to Kenton's point, it's well documented who this team is. It's well documented what their flaws are. And maybe it was a little bit naive that any of us thought, maybe they could go on the road and pick up their first road win of the season because they, yes, have not done that yet. Maybe it was naive to think, Syracuse is not that good of a team. Jackson Holzer was saying that they don't play any defense at all. Maybe NC State will score more than 60 to 65 points. Absolutely not. 74 to 6. Syracuse is one of the worst defensive teams in the ACC. That's backed up by metrics. And NC State looked like the same NC State that we've seen all season long. Only 60 points in a must-win game. So that's what this season is. It's a massive disappointment. Always has been, always will be. And to think for a second that they would perhaps pull themselves back out of the pit and maybe try and make something, no, all for naught. An embarrassing loss. And, it was something to keep an eye on coming into this game. and out of the Wake Forest game because of how well that Paul McNeil played. And Trey Parker's had his moments. He's had some struggles too, but he's had some moments with that young energy and his pure athleticism that provides something that you really don't get from anyone else on the court. Those two guys really struggled in this one. And I knew once you didn't get much out of Paul McNeil out of the gate, oh, brother, don't like where this one's heading. And my intuition was correct. Just a bland performance. Again, throw that in the pile. We've had a ton of those this year. It's just embarrassing that the urgency was nowhere to be found.
I agree that it's embarrassing, but I think it's even more embarrassing to expect it to appear at this point in time of the season.
Exactly.
You know, when Keith said, oh, yeah, Michael O'Connell knows what to do in March, I regret to inform you all, the season starts in what, October, November?
November.
I regret to inform you all, there is November, December, January, February, 4 months worth of basketball before when he knows what to do. Oh, congratulations. Hey, great job. Great job. You'll find a way to beat Georgia Tech, Pitt, and Miami. 3 teams that ain't sniffing the NCAA tournament. 3 teams that even, again, you are your habits, period. You are your habits, and this team's habits have been piss poor for quite some time. So seeing this now is just like, why would I be surprised? Why would I be shocked? Why would I sit here and say, oh, this is different than what I expected for some reason? This is who this team is, and that's all there is to it.
So we had been talking about how pivotal this game was up at Syracuse. Now that you've lost it, here's the stakes for the rest of the season. And quick hint for you, I'll go ahead and give it away. The odds are even slimmer than they already were. For NC State now to make it into the ACC tournament, not only do they have to win out, they have to go 3-0, win 2 of those games on the road. Good luck with that. You also need additional help in the form of Virginia would have to go 0-4. Syracuse would have to lose out. They'd have to go 0-3. And you'd need either Cal or Notre Dame to win only 1 of the remaining games. You would need just one of those situations to happen. But at this point, NC State has not played well enough at any point during this season that they should expect that something would magically fall into their lap and give them a second chance. They don't deserve a second chance. This team has shown us they don't deserve to play in the ACC tournament. And how embarrassing is that, being that we just won the whole damn thing last year? And were we a great team last year before that, Mark? No, but they found a way to get in and make magic happen. Now this year, you don't even get the chance to do that. So you have to sit here and understand you're looking right down the barrel of probably the second worst season in NC State basketball history. All recorded records, this is probably the second worst season ever. That's what we're talking about here. It's pitiful.
Well, you know what, though? This is really Kevin Keats being the man of the people, if we really look at this from the right perspective. I'm sure there are lots and lots of lactose intolerant guys on that team, okay? And if you win on the road, you get what, Grayson?
You get ice cream.
And you know what? Maybe there wasn't sorbet available at any of the previous stops that you know the Wolfpack have made. And so it just didn't really make a lot of sense to win a basketball game. So, you know, he's looking out for the guy. No, this is terrible. This is a as bad as I have ever seen Wolfpack basketball. And the fact that we're seeing this juxtaposed against, the fact that we're seeing this right after, the fact that we're seeing this in such close proximity to one of the greatest stretches of NC State, not just basketball, but sports, period, is like, well, damn, can we have nice things? Because the men's basketball team ain't the only ones letting us down right now off a fantastic last season that we're like, oh, man, we're expecting to build on it. Thank God for Frank Wesley Moore. Thank God for Isaiah James, because right now, that's the only team that performed well last year that we're expecting, hey, or that was expected to perform well in this season and is following through on it. Because everybody else, yeah, PU.
So it appears that the NC State men's basketball team will have to have a merciful end to their 2024-2025 season. There are only 3 regular season games left. The next one on the schedule is on the road at Georgia Tech on Saturday. 3 p.m. start down in Atlanta. If they win, and who even thinks that they might at this point with everything that we've already watched, if they win, they will need additional help. Again, don't cross your fingers. Don't hold your breath. They have blown more than enough opportunities to get themselves back into the ACC tournament in Charlotte. Coming up next, we're getting into a whole lot of nothing or a whole lot of something. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. First Thursday sponsor is Roy. Attention Wolfpack fans, the future of college sports is here, and it's transparent. Before the Roy app, NIL negotiations often happen under the table, and fans didn't have a clear way to directly support the athletes they love. Now, with Roy, you get to be a part of the change and support NC State athletes in the most transparent way possible. Roy, the NIL app, allows you, the fan, to choose the player you want to support, decide how much to contribute, and receive exclusive content from the athletes that you choose to back. The best part, if your player transfers, you get all of your money back, guaranteed. It's a risk-free way to show your support to your school. The Roy app is giving fans more control, no more uncertainty, and now you can provide transparent, impactful support and help shape the team and the future of college sports with your contributions. Download the Roy app now from the App Store and start backing NC State athletes in the way that they deserve, with transparency, trust, and a real impact. This is the future of college sports. Join it now by downloading Roy and supporting your favorite players. Middle portion of our Thursday show. Now time for a whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something. 3 topics. We'll tell you exactly where we stand on them. First one here. Assuming, and she will do this, assuming Zia James can score 57 more points before the end of the season, whatever that is for the NC State women's basketball team, she will become only the 4th NC State women's basketball player of all time to finish her career with 1,500 points, 400 rebounds, and 250 assists. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
Whole lot of something. I mean, Zia James has been phenomenal. She has been a player that has been a cornerstone of this team for so long. You know, I remember when she first started here, and as a freshman, she was with those groups, though, and you remember those groups, the Alyssa Cunane groups, the Rayda Perez groups and whatnot, where it was like, hey, you just get in where you fit in. Just show flashes here and there, and that's all we expect. And that's what she did. She showed some moments where it's like, oh, man, you can't compete with that. And then there were some moments where you're like, hey, let's tighten this up a little bit. But every step of the way, she has been, you know, just she's been Showtime TV, good, bad, and different. And now that she's maturing, now that she's older, the game has been refined, the turnovers have been reduced, the ball handling is much tighter, and the ability to just go on an absolute tear. The fact that she's a complete and utter menace whenever we play one of the blue schools, oh my God, whole lot of something. And she deserves this love because, again, this is not just a tribute to you being a great player. It's you being a great player and having a great all-around game while still filling it up at a high rate.
It confirms what we've already come to understand these last handful of seasons. You're watching an all-time great. If you think of NC State women's basketball in the future, it will be marked by the contributions of Zia James between the years of 2020 to now. The player that she has developed into has been a true spectacle to watch. From a career high in points to, you know, leading the team to ranked road wins to taking NC State to the Final Four last season. This is an all-time great in the history of the NC State women's basketball program, and we get to watch her right now. And the best part is she's still heating up coming to the end of this season. She's putting together masterclass performances night in and night out. They have their senior night on Thursday evening against Wake Forest. Maybe she just goes for all 57 in that game. She certainly has the ability to do. I don't expect her to, but hey, who knows? She very well could. We know she can fill it up at will, but this is a special, special player. She deserves every accolade, every bit of love, every bit of attention, and we cannot wait to see the heights that she can bring us back to at the end of this year once we get into the postseason. In just a couple weeks, it's coming up quick, but keep in mind, when you're watching this, you are watching an all-time great. Whole lot of something. Second one here. We hinted at this a couple weeks ago. Now the official numbers are out on FanDuel. The over-under for NC State football in 2025 is, as we expected, 6.5. Whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something.
I'll say a whole lot of nothing. NC State is a very enigmatic team to bettors for good reason. You know, you never know what you're going to get because we all know the law of the wolf. When you expect the least, you get the most. When you expect the most, you get the least. And nobody's expecting much out of this team next year. And I myself have said that these first 4 games are going to be pivotal. Either they're going to win under 6 or over 7. And that's something that I stand by. But with that being said, I mean, Vegas is Vegas is Vegas. I want to say they put us at 6.5 in the year that Devin Leary burst on the scene, and we got 8 or 9 that year. So a whole lot of nothing in my opinion.
Yeah, 6.5 has been a mark that NC State has been pretty familiar with these last couple of years. Kenton said it well. It's a whole lot of nothing because it doesn't really matter. They just need to keep their head down and get to work. But my point of emphasis here is, yeah, the nation's not really expecting much from NC State. Vegas is not expecting much from NC State. And historically, that is when Coach Dorn and the NC State football team has been at their best. So perhaps we're setting up for a very solid season here, being that some of the spotlight will be back off of them because last year certainly fell apart with the expectations on that team. But 6.5 looks about right. We gave our preliminary expectations based on the schedule that dropped. 6.5 feels about right. Vegas now matches that prediction with the official 6.5 win marker. We're going to have to see how this plays out. But for right now, it's a whole lot of nothing. Last one here. We won't get too far into detail. I'm just going to ask you your level of concern here, Kenton. NC State baseball has lost their last 5 games in a row, including 2 midweeks, and they were swept out of Jacksonville. What's your concern level from 1 to 10?
I'd say a 7. I'd say a 7 in that I'm very concerned here. This is a whole lot of something because I understand baseball is baseball. And sometimes you just go through slumps and things happen. This team has not been competitive in some of these games. Like, that's my biggest problem. It's not about, hey, you got to win every time. You've got to be great every time. Some of these games have just flatly not been competitive.
Right.
You went down to Jacksonville and completely and utterly looked outclassed, except I believe their game against Ohio State or Alabama was close, but other than that,
the Ohio State game was close for a little bit before the Buckeyes blew it out, and the Alabama game was 4-0.
Yeah. Again, I'm not upset at losing. I'm upset at consistently, it seems, not being competitive. That is troublesome. So I'm going to say 7 out of 10, whole lot of something.
Yeah, and again, we'll get into more detail here in just a second. I'm at a 5 because, yes, it is still early, but to Kenton's point, the way that some of these games have been lost, that is the concerning part. A non-competitive loss to Richmond. We're talking the Richmond Spiders of the A-10. That's not a loss that NC State should ever have at home. And I know the midweeks sometimes don't matter as much as the weekends. You can't lose to Richmond at home. Richmond, maybe they make the NCAA tournament, maybe they don't, but that's not a mid-major you expect to come into Raleigh and give you competition. I'll give you Campbell. I'll give you UNCW. I'll give you UNC Greensboro, who we have to play next week. But Richmond, that's not a good loss. And it was pretty much non-competitive. 5-1 at home is a little bit embarrassing. So I'm not overly concerned with 5 losses in a row. It is still technically February. There's still a lot of baseball to be played, but the way that we've looked uncompetitive at the plate, that is what I'm concerned with. And maybe that was the biggest concern anyway coming into the season. The pitching staff has been relatively okay. Rom-Com Dom has struggled a little bit, but we're going to have to see if he can straighten that out as soon as Friday. So we'll see where this thing is headed, but a very slow start out of the gate. NC State baseball has had these the last couple of years anyway. Like, I'd say 4 out of the last 5 years, they've started relatively slow. And in that window, you have 2 trips to Omaha. You have another trip. I believe that was the Columbia, South Carolina regional that you were in. It takes time. It's concerning. I don't like losing either, especially 5 in a row in the month of February coming out of the gate. But don't sound the alarms quite yet. We'll see how they rebound starting this weekend with Canisius. Coming up next, we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Thursday sponsor is Fabric. Life moves fast, and especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps. Before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exams are required. You can get $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day, so protecting your loved ones doesn't have to break the bank. Fabric also offers free digital wills and access to investment accounts to help you plan for your children's future. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric, MEETFABRIC, meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Make sure to protect your family today with Fabric. Last couple minutes of our Thursday show. Bit of a brutal week, or I guess week and a half now for NC State baseball. They have lost their last 5 games in a row. We discussed the game they lost to Liberty last week. Then they went down to Jacksonville, got swept out of Jacksonville, 0-3. They lost to Ohio State, lost to Alabama, lost to Coastal Carolina on Sunday. And then most recently, they have lost to Richmond, another midweek game at the Doak, 0-5 in their last 5. Now, we talked about our concern level there in the last segment, whole lot of nothing, whole lot of something. To reiterate here, for me, it has been the plate discipline for NC State. It's been by far my biggest concern. These last couple of games, you had just 4 hits against Richmond. You had only 4 hits against Coastal Carolina. You had only 3 hits against Alabama. It's pretty clear what is not getting done right now, and it is the offense. Now, it is early, and the ebbs and flows of a college baseball season is something that not a lot of people really understand unless you really watch it every single year. I'm not on here to call people a bunch of casuals, but I'm just letting y'all know college baseball is very, very, very fickle. Teams, great teams even, will go through stretches like this where they can't get on base. They can't generate any offense. Then all of a sudden something will click at some point in the season and they look completely different. I'm not exactly predicting that's what NC State is going to do, but that situation is a lot more likely than what you're currently seeing being consistent for the rest of the year. I know they're young. I know they got a lot to figure out, but don't give up on this team, basically, is my point here. It's way, way too early. And I've already given this speech on here once. It's way too early to give up on this team and write them off. So much baseball left to be played. The bullpen and the starting rotation has been relatively okay, even though they're still working out some kinks there as well. This team's going to be fine. Don't hit the panic button quite yet. Even though they're 0-5 in their last 5, they have the opportunity to right the ship starting this weekend.
I am a little bit more concerned than you, Grayson, for a few reasons. Number one, I'm one of those people who doesn't understand college baseball at a high level, so this does look concerning because, again, we have not crossed the threshold during this 5-game losing streak. We've only crossed the threshold of 4 runs once. I mean, for Christ's sake, who's your batting coach? Javi Baez. This is embarrassing. Those boys are not seeing a single pitch that they don't want to swing at. By the way, if you're a fellow Tigers fan, you know what I'm talking about there. But even beyond that, I look at this and I say it's concerning because, second reason, every year after Elliott Avon has made the College World Series, every time we've been to Omaha, what happened next year, Grayson?
Didn't make the tournament.
Lastly, the law of the wolf. When you expect the most, you get the least. And Grayson, were there expectations placed upon this team?
Very high expectations.
All right. So I understand Wolfpack Nation being even more concerned than my 7 coming into this team because, again, history is not on our side in this one at all. And again, I hope you're right, Grayson. I hope that I look up at this in late March. I hope that I look up this in tournament time for the ACC and I say, boy, do I look foolish being concerned. But right now, I'm very concerned about this start.
Yeah, and I want to say, too, I'm not trying to sugarcoat it because it has been bad. Like, the offense has been very putrid, to be quite honest, up to this point, and it's not at a level that you expect an NC State team to be at because one of the attributes to NC State baseball, you expect them every year to knock the cover off the ball. Chris Hart, our assistant, has been one of the best hitting coaches in the entire country. Every single year, year in and year out, the Wolfpack are going to pepper the yard. This year, nowhere to be found. But I have a lot of faith that they will figure it out here as soon as this weekend. Again, you have another non-conference series coming up. We're playing Canisius. Kenton, I'll go ahead and quiz you. Do you know where Canisius is?
New York, right?
Oh, you got it. It is. The Buffalo, New York. Do you know their mascot?
Now that one, you got me stumped. You stumped the Swami on this one.
They are the Golden Griffons of Canisius. So a team that no one's ever heard of, NC State should sweep them. That's where I stand on this. There should not be an instance where we are playing a 1-run ball game or even lose and drop one of these 3. This should be a sweep. And I think this weekend, oddly enough, it might even be a better indicator of what this team is feeling right now. Because if they are in a funk, they might still be in a funk, even though their competition is not anything to sneeze at. They played real competition last week. They went 0-3. ACC baseball is going to be war this year, literal war. The ACC is one of the best conferences in all of college baseball, probably second to the SEC, but they might be neck and neck, to be quite honest with you. It's close. NC State, they just need to find a way to get hot. There's a theory amongst college baseball fans. It's called the hot, cold, hot theory, where basically a team will be really hot out of the gate. They all of a sudden forget how to play baseball. They get cold, but then as the postseason gets near, they get hot and they make it to Omaha. That was what NC State did last year. Maybe we're doing a little bit of cold, 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 and then hot, hot, hot. I don't know yet, but I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's been bad, but I say all that to say there's so much baseball left to be played. Don't give up on this team. There's so much talent to go ahead and write off in, the late stages of February. So we'll see how they rebound. But if there's any coaching staff that has rebounded, probably more often than any other coaching staff at NC State, it's been Elliott Avent and the baseball program. So we'll see what they do to finish out the rest of this week. Perhaps they do get on one of those hot stretches. Could very well start as soon as this weekend. That'll do it for us here on Thursday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us your thoughts on the loss up in upstate New York on Wednesday evening. An embarrassing no-show of a loss, 14-point loss to Syracuse with the ACC tournament hopes on the line. Kiss that one goodbye. We will certainly see where we land here in the next couple weeks. Anything else you have on your mind, drop that in the comment box as well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Friday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.